And today, all the way from St. Louis, we have the amazing, the fantastic Lois Kramer.
I'm so happy to join you. It's a pleasure being with you, Claire.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, you've been around for a while, haven't you?
I used to be blonde, Claire.
You can see that. Yeah, there's a few white hairs in there.
You.
So how long have you been a professional keynote speaker? How did it come about? What was your first gig kind of things?
Well, I came to this totally by accident. It was never a plan. I worked after going to school here in the US, I got a job working for a Fortune 10 corporation in sales and marketing, and left that job after I adopted a little girl and wanted to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I was. And then I had an opportunity, just kind of connection of mine in college, newest professional speaker was looking for somebody to run his business. And he called me, and I really wasn't looking at the time, but I met him and we talked and we said, well, let's give this a try. And I ended up working with him for a number of years, learned the business of speaking. And I actually got started in speaking, Claire, because the National Speakers Association asked me to speak at some of their national conferences about marketing and selling because we were having success doing that. So I was really on the marketing and sales end. And then I started wondering, my sense was, after speaking to professional speakers, one of my biggest takeaways was my sense that most professional speakers really sucked when it came to answering the question, what do you do? And so I started wondering, is there a business in this? With my corporate background and with my working with a very successful speaker background. And that's really how I got into this business. And then I just was working with speakers, much like I'm doing now. Then a client of mine who owned another company said, I want you to come in and do sales training. And I did. And then I started doing that for a while, doing sales for corporate sales teams. But now the only speaking I do are to groups of professional speakers around the world. And so totally by accident, Claire, this was never a plan, but I'm just celebrating my 25th year in business this month. So
wow. Wow. Congratulations. Yep. Wow.
Thank
amazing. You. Yeah.
Thanks.
And it's really rewarding, isn't it? It's an industry which is really rewarding in a way because there's so much transformation when you're working with people, whether it's speakers or as speakers when you're working with the audience or with there's something about it which it grabs you, doesn't it?
It really does. I feel like every morning I get to wake up and work with the most creative, upbeat people in the world, and this is something I just really love. And I feel very, very fortunate to be able to do it. So I have to tell you, I have a heck of a lot of fun in my business. And I've met some people who I would never have an opportunity to meet had I not been in this business. I'm sure the same is true for you.
Absolutely. No, they're totally. So you didn't really get did you get any like certifications or any diplomas? I mean, you see it all over the internet now, and there's like, the certifications for everything, right? And when you start by sharing a message, and then how do you learn? Now how did you learn all those tips and tricks on actually how to be better speaker, but then also promoting yourself better, all those kind of things?
Yeah, I got no certification whatsoever. What I brought to my business was a depth of expertise in sales and marketing on the corporate side, married with selling speaking services on the business side. And that's the experience and expertise that I brought to my business. And I say, Claire, I learn what's working in the professional speaking industry with every client that I work with. That's
Mm.
how I keep up with what's going on. I also read just so many things all the time. And I typically write a monthly update about what's going on in the industry. So I keep up with what's going on in our industry as well as what's working for individuals. But that's how I keep up. I have not gone for a certification. I think the most important thing, quite frankly, more important than a certification to me, is the depth of your expertise that you bring. Are you a subject matter expert?
Very cool. Very good. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And there's there's differences as well, isn't it, in the keynote speakers, those who come from an industry and share what they've done, and those who are, just getting into one topic and then going for it on the other side of it. How do you, so working with different speakers at different levels, I'm sure, and
Yes.
this is the interview series for how to become a $10,000 keynote speaker. So how do you actually, what would be the things because, I often think you're moving from 2,500 to 5,000 is can I say an easy
I
jump,
agree with you. I agree.
but the 5 to 10 for me feels a much bigger jump. And
I agree.
how do you go? Yeah.
I think that I totally agree with you. I think that fees are a composite of many things in your business.
Mm.
To me, fees are a function of the depth of your expertise, where you apply that expertise, because not all industries or target markets will pay the same. For example, in the United States, the education market has kind of a ceiling about what you could expect to get fee-wise.
Okay. Well, okay,
As opposed to
interesting.
as opposed to corporations where it's very upwardly mobile. So I think it's a
Oh.
function of the depth of your expertise, what market, where you apply that expertise into what market. And I think that those two things are the most important things to get you to 10,000. Do you have
Mm.
a depth of expertise that you can plug in a specific market so that market can begin to see you as the go-to person? So I think it's that. I think also I think that you have to have good insight into your own abilities. Do you have a great speech? Do you have
Mm.
a $10,000 speech? Do you have $10,000 presentation skills? And I think
Mm.
we're all a work in progress, but also taking all of that, then am I able to show the marketplace that I have all these things? Do I have
Mm.
kind of marketing materials, websites? Do I have the kind of video that reflects a much higher fee? So to me, it's a number of things that go
Mm.
into this that create that.
Mm. And I guess also all those things would demonstrate the value. I think sometimes there's a bit of frustration amongst the keynote speakers because, we're being asked maybe to do either whether it's freebies or, and perhaps we feel that we're not seeing they're not seeing the value of what a professional speaker can bring.
You know, I totally agree with you. And let me just say this. I always see people talking about free speeches and saying, I'm not going to speak for free. I'm not going to speak for free. My most successful clients, and when I was speaking to corporate sales teams, one of my marketing strategies was seeking out opportunities where I was willing to waive my fee. I think words are very important. I never
Mm.
said speak for free. It kind of caught in my throat.
Definitely. And I
Opportunities,
call it showcase.
yes, where I'm
Yes.
willing to waive my fee for value. Now that value, that opportunity had to meet certain criteria. Are people in the audience buyers? Are they people who could buy a speech that like they just heard? And then I have a whole chapter in my book, Make Money, speaking on what is value to you. Are you asking for things so that you're walking away with value, not just giving, you're also getting? And I always remind people that anytime you're asked for something, you need to ask for something back. Because anytime somebody says, Claire, we'd like you to come in and we're not going to pay you, we'd like you to come in, you're in a negotiation. And the professional thing to do is to counter. Well, if I were able to do that, this is what I would have to see in place. You would have to pay my expenses. I would have to get an attendee list that I could contact. I would have to get a video and audio testimonial. I would have to get the
Photos.
film. Yeah, you just negotiate these things, and they are expecting you to ask for something. And too often we just are not looking at this thing as a great long range strategic move. We're looking at this with shorter vision. And I always say you always want to look at these things in a strategic way. What is the most that I can get out of what is reasonable to ask and what is reasonable to give?
Do you think there's a difference, Lois, between the different countries in the world? So you talked about differences between corporate perhaps and different industry. Do you think there's a difference as well in the world in terms of speaking and the value that speakers have?
I think that's a great question. And I have to tell you, I don't know. What I do know is the United States.
Okay.
And, but, also I would say this, Claire, that I think that a lot of this is how confident we are in the value that we bring to the marketplace. And does our language reflect that? And I think that that's absolutely, absolutely key. I know in the United States that there are some industries that pay more, some industries that have kind of a glass ceiling as to what they're going to pay. I have to say I'm not an expert in other countries, and I don't want to claim I am. But that is the responsibility of each speaker wherever they find themselves to know what is the market like? What is my market like here? What do I need to do to exceed what the average would be? And especially if you want to get up to 10K, that's what you need to be asking yourself. How can I create a perception? A lot of this is perception, especially as we're starting out. How do I create the perception of high value information that is highly targeted, that is well worth more than I'm asking you for?
Wow, that's very powerful. Yes, very powerful. And I think you've said that as well. It's also a mindset, right?
Yes, I think it is. I really think it is. Claire, I remember years ago working with a young woman who was early in her speaking career. And I asked her, I said, what's your fee? And this is how she replied to me. She said, my fee is $3,500, but I never get it.
Okay.
And I said, well, I've got news for you. Your fee is not $3,500 then, and you're killing yourself every time you claim it is. So we have to be, your fee essentially is, what are you being paid? At this moment, what are you being paid? And at that moment, she said she was averaging $2,500. And I said, then your fee is $2,500. You may want it to be 35, but your market is not perceiving that that's your value yet. You still have a ways to go to bridge that difference. And anytime we raise our fees, that's what we need to ask. Is the perception we're creating, because everybody doesn't know us, is the perception we're creating that of a really high fee speaker? And all of those things that you and I mentioned a little while ago go into play to create that perception.
Do you think there's any specific challenges when you get to that level as well? The expectations, of course, from the organizers, what do they expect from a $10,000 keynote speaker kind of things? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think when you are branding yourself as a 10,000 or above speaker, you have to be ultimately professional, and meeting planners are assuming that you know what you're doing. and that you run a very professional business. And so you have to have all of the things in place, all of the instruments in place that are allowing others to see you in this way. Like I said, marketing materials, video. What kind of pre-program work do you do to guarantee success at each event? My clients do really lengthy pre-program work before they ever get on the platform, so they know what they're doing. I used to do pre-program interviews all the time. I would call out from the platform when I was doing a sales speech. I just spoke to Joe Smith, one of your sales managers, and he said, one of your biggest challenges was blah, 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 blah. Well, people in the audience then think, she knows us. She knows our experience. She knows what we're going through. And so a certain personalization, I think, is involved at a higher level. And it's absolutely more work, but the payoff is more. You're creating that perception. And I've always said, anytime a decision maker hires you and has not heard you, they are assuming risk. They're hoping that you're good. They're hoping that we're good. Our job is to make them confident that they just made the best decision in the world by signing a contract with us. And I think that when you start, as your fee gets larger and larger, that is absolutely a big part of the job, a big part of the job. And, I would also add this, something that you didn't ask, but I have to add, that I think one of our challenges at any fee level, quite frankly, Claire, is we have to be great at selling ourselves. Because
yes.
You can have the best speech in the world, but it will never be heard if you don't have the ability to sell it. So you need to be able to talk about your intellectual properties in a compelling, captivating way that meets the needs of a target market.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. I think and it's funny how, we're supposed to be speakers and communications almost experts and on stages in front of 500, 1,000 people. But then when you're trying to sell yourself, it's like,
I'm always come up against people saying, well, I don't like to talk about myself. And really my reply to that is, well, you best get over that or get another job, because that's the reality for most of us mere mortals. We have to sell ourselves, and decision makers want to talk to us, not people who sell for us. They want to talk to the person. If they're bringing Claire in to speak, they want to talk to Claire about her subject matter and have the confidence that she has the depth of expertise that they want for their group. So that, I think, is absolutely key. And I tell people early on all the time. I just spoke a couple of weeks ago to a group of new speakers. And I said, your job is not only just to speak, you have to sell. So if you aren't good at selling, get good at selling.
I think it comes back as well to before you said something about personalization, and actually as you selling yourself and talking to the clients directly, you can ask those questions to really understand what's going on, why. Because I remember you telling a story about you were going on stage, you were doing a sell thing, and then just 5 minutes before you were told that there was going to be so many people going to be made redundant. There was something like that, wasn't it?
There was a situation, I think, that you're referring to. I spoke in Las Vegas to a national association, and I was told that the audience from my pre-work was going to be mostly male. And when I walked into the room, because I like to go in early, I like to ask people, why are you here? What really interested you in this? Just to have a few conversations. Sometimes I bring those up too during a program. And there were 300 people. This was a breakout. There were 300 people. 298 of them were men. One woman in the front row and me. So I thought, yeah, this is male dominated, all right. And I knew that, and this would have been in about 2007, so a while ago. There weren't as many women speaking on sales as there are now. And I wish there were more, quite frankly. But I knew I had to address this. in order to really create that empathic relationship. That's the responsibility of the speaker, to make sure early on you're creating that empathic relationship so people feel like there's a reason I should be listening to this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I came out and I was introduced. I walked out. There was a smattering of applause, Claire, a literal smattering of applause. And I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. So I said, I'll be with you in a minute. And I left the platform. I went down and there was a big pitcher of water. And I took a napkin and I dunked it in it and I wrung it out very slowly. And I walked back up on stage and I started dabbing my forehead in the back of my neck. And I said, you know, you'll have to excuse me. I'm having hot flashes today. And I bet there's enough estrogen coursing through my veins to counteract all the testosterone looking at me right now with their arms crossed, thinking, what does this young girl have to tell me about sales? And, you know, an interesting thing happened. People started laughing. And I got another smattering of applause. But the thing was, because we laughed about it and I addressed it right away, people were with me. It turned out to be a great program.
Right.
But knowing what you're walking into, at least being forewarned, is a little bit forearmed, I would like to think. But I do think that that's absolutely key. The pre-work is absolutely key.
Yes, this is it, isn't it? It's not just a delivery of it. It's your before, your during, and your after, and how it all brings together. And I think that comes back to the professionalism and, you know, how you can then get booked again, because then people will say, well, you know what, spot on from the minute we talked to them to the end. It was just like the whole package was there, wasn't it?
It was. And, you know, going back to your original question, $10,000 speakers know the cares, concerns, and challenges of the people sitting before them listening to their speech.
Yeah.
They know what is going on in the minds. One of the questions that I always ask, and my clients always ask the decision maker, what's the most important thing you want me to know? What's the most important thing? How will you measure success of my program? And, you know, I cite another example of, I went out to speak to a corporate sales team in Los Angeles, and I was having this pre-program call, and it was 3 weeks before the program. And I asked the question, Claire, is there anything else you'd like that you think I should know that I haven't asked you? And he said to me, yes, 25% of our sales team was let go.
All right, yes.
I thought, OMG, what if I didn't know this? So when I went out there and I was introduced, when I came out, I wasn't going, woo, we love selling. I was, you know, I addressed it immediately. I said, I bet this room is filled with anxiety.
Right. Yes.
Am I next? Am I next? What can I do to make up for the loss of productivity? I'm being asked to work harder, sell more, be more productive. And I said, that's exactly why I'm here, to try and help you do these things. And so they knew that I knew what was going on there. It wasn't just somebody coming in and going, oh, we love selling, don't we? When they've lost friends and colleagues. They're being asked to do more. So really knowing what's going on in the room, I think is to the kind of reception you're going to get, and absolutely is key to your ability to leverage that success into something else.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And so just give me some ideas as well. Like, you know, if we're looking at some really kind of spot on keynote speakers at the moment, who would you say is kind of top of the list? I know that it goes with the flow as well, depending on the topics, and you know, there's
it really
different
does.
topics. Is,
you know, that's a hard question you're asking somebody who has a lot of clients who, and so I'm going to answer this in a way that is smart for me.
Right.
Um, I think that the people that you see working who are really current, addressing what is currently going on, even though, for example, I was just with somebody last week, had dinner, and she had flown into St. Louis to do a program for my St. Louis National Speakers Association chapter. Woman, you may know her, Julie Holmes. Do you know Julie?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I know Julie. Yes.
We had so much fun. Julie is, I think, a great example of somebody whose expertise is always evolving. So
Right.
she speaks on sales, but now her edge is, how is artificial intelligence affecting your sales? So
Mm.
she is someone who's constantly leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
She also has great presentation skills. I think she's brilliant. But she is a great example of someone who is always going to be, I think, ahead of what is going on. And I
Yeah.
think that that's why she is constantly in demand. And so
Mm.
I think that we all need to ask ourselves, what can we do to make sure that we are current, that it doesn't sound like I'm bringing a speech. If I go in front of sales professionals and I'll say, the most important sales tool you can have in your office is a fax machine, thinking they're not going to be very impressed with me.
They'll be booed out of the stage.
I think, and I should be, Claire. I should be run out of there. So
What?
yeah, how are you? So and Julie also, one of the things I absolutely love about her program and about her is she weaves in really current examples of what's going
Mm.
on right now and futuring, visioning things that we need to be thinking about. And I hope I'm going to get at least some flowers from Julie after praising her so much here. But
You should.
I'm just, just after coming from hearing a program that she did, I just think she's brilliant. And I think she's a great example of how to
Mm.
get your fee up where you
Yeah.
want it to. She does all of those things. She checks all of those boxes.
Nice, 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 nice. Very cool. So just to kind of wrap it up a little on what we've just said, just what would you say the three biggest thing that you'd say, or you would, if somebody new comes to you and say, right, okay, I'm going for it, what would you say the three big things that they would really need to nail down? We've talked about quite a few already, but perhaps maybe a recap of what we said, or something that we haven't actually talked about.
I think the top three for me would be number one, a depth of expertise. Do
Yeah.
you have a real depth of expertise? And do you have your finger on what's going on right now in your area of expertise?
Mm.
Second, do you have the chops to present it in an absolutely compelling way?
Mm-hmm.
Something that really garners the attention of people. Are your stories really well crafted? And then third, do you have the marketing tools that are reflecting that expertise, that depth of expertise to the people who are buying you? Can they see from your videos, from your written material, if they've bought a book or reading a blog post of yours, can they see that depth of expertise? And have you given them the confidence to write a check for you? Those would be my top three.
Fantastic. And so you mentioned a little book earlier. What was the book called?
Well, this is interesting. I just so happen I'm writing
I
the
just
second
happened to
edition right now, but that's my book. You always have to have it with you. It's Make
Absolutely,
Money
right?
Speaking. It's done really well for me over the years. It's on Amazon, and uh, it's really my business in a book.
Okay,
And
nice.
I obviously I highly recommend it, but I'm also a little bit jaundiced, I have to tell you.
I love it. Yeah, well, that's fine. That's what it's about as well. No, I really appreciate you spending this time with me and with us really today. And if you want to follow Lois, you're everywhere, aren't you? You're on all the social media platforms. Do you have one that you prefer than the other?
Not really, but you can find me Lois Kramer on pretty much everywhere. And my
Right.
website is bookmorebusiness.com. You can always connect with me there, sign up for blogs. But thanks for inviting me. This has been so much fun, Claire. Honored to be with you, spend time with you.
Thanks a lot. That's really cool. And I'm looking forward to coming to your St. Louis event one of those days.
I am too. That would be our joy.
All right. Bye for now. Bye, everybody. Well, and subscribe as well. I forgot, you need to say that. Subscribe and like and share and all those kind of things as well. So we do that as well. And then we'll follow Lois. Follow Lois. She's really good.